and you can see it's very painful to look into the light or even look into my computer. So that's why I'm wearing the sunglasses, not trying to be anything, but I'm here having a conversation with Geri Spieler, author of Regina of Warsaw, and that's about love, loss, and liberation. And it's a story about your grandmother, right?
Yes, it is. It's the storyline is her life.
It's her life, yeah.
It's historical fiction.
Historical fiction, yeah.
Yeah. So the politics and all of that is accurate, and her storyline is accurate. Her leaving Warsaw at 18 was a baby boy and leaving everything and everyone she ever knew because of the rise of antisemitism in Poland at the turn of the century. This is 30 years before World War II.
Right. Was it 1903? Was it 19?
She witnessed a pogrom, which is a Russian word for a violent raid in the city of Bialystok with her sister. And there were increasing events, people being beat up, boycotting Jewish stores. It was just growing. And because of her experience, she was much more heightened to it than her family, having seen this pogrom. So
that was really traumatic. I did read that she was hiding in the closet and her sister was violently assaulted, by Russian soldiers. Yeah, so very, very scary time. But seeing all that let her, leave everything. And now you say something about your mother grew up in an orphanage.
Yes, Regina ended up in Chicago with a new husband and had 3 more children, which was my mother and her 2 sisters. Grandpa abandoned them. So she was there with 4 little kids, one of them 2 years old, my mother. And she said, this is Regina. Well, if I have to be poor, I don't need to be cold. Being poor in Chicago is a little different than being cold being in Los Angeles. So Jewish Family Services got her and the kids to LA, but her skills weren't marketable. She was a translator, but her English wasn't great. And so she really didn't have the money to take care of all the kids. But the son stayed with her, my uncle, and my mother and her sisters were raised in a Jewish orphanage at the time called Vista Del Mar in LA. And what was is that Grandma Regina hadn't abandoned her kids, but they needed food, medical care, and so the orphanage said, they're still your children. Come on the weekend. Take them home for the weekend. They're still yours. We're just taking care of them. It was a wonderful place.
Oh, okay.
To my mother's dying day, she said how fortunate they were to live there. It was the 30s. She said, we never knew there was a depression. We went to the beach. We went to the movies. We had everything we needed. And the medical community made sure these kids had the best of everything. They were very well taken care of, and nobody was broken. My mother and her sisters were not broken from that experience. When you say orphanage, you think of Dickens.
Yeah. Please, may I have some more? Yeah, right.
Yeah. Their health cottage, if the kids were ill, had a full-time tutor and doctors that visited and a full-time registered nurse. And the tutor kept them up with school so they didn't fall behind. I mean, it was amazing. It was really, these kids were so well taken care of.
So you're an investigative journalist, is that right? So, and then you've written a lot of other books. You want to tell us a little bit about yourself and your life, and then tell us why you embarked on writing this book.
I grew up in Los Angeles. Now I live in Northern California. I worked for a couple of newspapers. I did a lot of freelance writing. I wrote for Truth Dig, which is like it's a news and information website. And I wrote my first book in 2009, and because I ended up connecting with Sarah Jane Moore, who was the woman who shot at President Ford in front of the St. Francis Hotel in 1975. Not Squeaky. Squeaky didn't have a bullet in her gun. She just waved it around to get attention. But Sarah Jane was serious about trying to assassinate the president. It happened to be Ford, but it wasn't about him. It was about the office.
Okay.
And she saw an article I wrote about Sybil Brand Jail, which is the largest women's jail in the country. And there was a class action suit, and I was assigned to write about it. She saw the article. She had already shot it for it.
Right.
I was down in LA. I didn't have anything to do with her. But she wrote to me. She loved the press. And she said, I know I'm going to be incarcerated in Southern California. I'd like to meet you. And I thought, I've never met an assassin before.
Yeah, hey.
I wonder what she's like.
Yeah, cool. Find out.
So I went to meet her. She was after she, had her hearing. She pleaded guilty. She was incarcerated in Southern California, and I was waiting, and I was approved, and I'm waiting in this room, this large room, and a woman comes out across the way in civilian clothes, looked like somebody who worked there. She walks over to me, she grabs my hand, and she says, and I quote, "Are you Geri?" Just like that. Yes. "Oh, I'm so happy to meet you. Thank you so much for coming."
Oh, wow.
And I thought, are we going to lunch?
Yeah, very nice manners, yeah.
That was Sarah Jane. Nobody saw her coming.
No.
She looked like your neighbor. She's any woman, she was 45, any woman on your block or in a group, you never saw her coming. That led to years of correspondence. I wasn't her friend. I didn't approve of what she did. I told her so. I felt sorry for her son, and I sent him gifts on her behalf. Years later, she nagged me about writing her book. I said, I don't write books. They're too hard. They take too long. I don't write books. I don't want to be an author. Write your own book. No, I want you to write my book. I don't want to write your book. Write your own book. She wore me down. I started researching her. Now, I don't go and research everybody I talk to. If you say the sky is brown, the sky is brown. I don't care.
Right.
I started realizing all the things she lied about all those years. And that really got my red flags going. I ended up writing her book. She wouldn't talk to me anymore because I was interviewing people and telling the truth about the 3 kids. She never told me she had these 3 other children. She abandoned these 3 other kids. That book became Housewife Assassin, the woman who tried to kill President Ford. It's been optioned for a movie.
Wow, sounds interesting.
Distributed with Diversion and Simon & Schuster. So that was my first book.
What year did that come out?
More. That came out in 2009.
2009, okay, that sounds interesting. So did she have fictitious disorder, like she just made up a whole new life for herself, or I mean, what do you think? Was she like an imposter trying to be somebody completely that she wasn't, or was she just leaving out things she didn't like?
Well, I think she wanted to portray herself differently than she really was. Mm-hmm. She, like I said, she never admitted to abandoning 3 other children. She made up a lot of stories, and like I said, whatever she said, that's fine. I don't care. And also, she compartmentalized. One of the Secret Service agents I interviewed for the book, and the FBI and the Secret Service were just wonderful. They said that she was compartmentalized, and I never knew anybody else she saw, and she never wavered of who she was to Geri Spieler, and she was different to other people. So she had her own persona for what I think she thought I wanted.
Right.
But I didn't care, and whatever she said was fine. It didn't matter to me about her lying. I didn't care. She had no effect on my life.
Right.
She was fascinating. She was brilliant, artistic. She wrote letters the penmanship was absolutely perfect. Her grammar was perfect. It was too bad because she really had a lot to offer society.
Where do you think she went wrong? What do you think happened, to her? I mean, do you have any ideas of where she went wrong, that she decided to not use that for good?
Of course, the psychiatrist wouldn't reveal anything to me.
Right.
But there was obviously, the rest of her family was fine. She had siblings that were perfectly fine. something was going on with her because she would accomplish things then quit. Was in nursing school and then quit. She was in the military and up for promotion and quit. She kept reinventing herself.
Right.
Over and over again. She was pregnant with her youngest, Frederick Alberg, with her husband. She married well, by the way. Her husband was John Alberg, who won awards for sound design for RKO. And she was in Los Angeles with him, and then she left him while she was pregnant and moved to Northern California. Why? I just couldn't be in LA anymore.
Yeah.
You're pregnant with this guy's kid and you just leave?
Right. So she had it almost like she's setting herself up to fail. She gets herself up to where she can really excel at something and then just leaves it just behind into something else, right?
Yeah. And she did excel.
Yeah.
She's very smart.
Right. They are. These are like master manipulators. A lot of people that do that stuff, they're brilliant in ways, you know what I mean? But they don't use that for good. They're just master manipulators, and they're shapeshifters, and just they know who you need. Like, they know how to mirror whatever they need to get you. Like, they know all of this. It's just it's like an innate in them, and it's crazy. I've met people like that, and like I said, they could use that and really help. I mean, I had an imposter once. She used to help me with freaking research, right? And I thought, she told me she was behavioral analyst that worked with the government, and she studied serial killers. Her and I used to team up and do some great research. And I mean, she was like really there, and we were really getting the research. And, oh yeah, let's check this down. Yeah, okay. And then I found out she was not at all who she said she was, and
Wow.
It's like crazy. It's like, why do you do this? Why do you invest so much time? You could really have invested the time and been that. I mean,
yeah.
Instead of pretending that's who you were, it's just, it's crazy. I don't understand. And why was she trying to kill the president? And you said she just didn't believe, was it power, because she didn't like men having power, or?
Well, this was 1970s in San Francisco Bay Area. There were more FBI informants in this area than anywhere else in the country. We had the Patty Hearst kidnapping, we had the Symbionese Liberation Army, we had Black Panthers, we had Prairie Fire, we had a gazillion underground organizations here, and she got very much involved with that. And the FBI hired her to be an informant, but she also became an informant for underground organizations like Tribal Thumb, which was a nasty group of people. And she wanted to be important to them, and they groomed her to do this because they said that Ford wasn't elected and Rockefeller wasn't elected because Nixon had resigned, and that the country needed a revolution, and that we're going to start a revolution by killing Ford. And Sarah Jane blended into the crowd, and because the Secret Service profile for an assassin was a young man between 20 and 30 years old, foreign born, delusions of grandeur, and a loner. They weren't looking for your neighbor lady.
Right.
And the thing that didn't come out at the time is she missed his head by 6 inches only because the sight was off of the gun by 6 inches. And the FBI agent who worked with Judge Conte, Richard Vidamonte, said, my blood ran cold when she came so close to killing the president. When she went to take her second shot is when Oliver Sipple, saw this, this gunshot and grabbed her arm and made that shot go wild. But had he not, and she was a marksman, she'd been in the military, she would have killed him.
Yeah.
But Richard said, and he was the FBI case agent, this is fact.
Right.
We didn't want the country to know how close we came to another assassination. We just made up a story that she shot wild, that she was a loner. None of that was true. And of course, that's what's in my book, as well as an interview with President Ford, because that's what really happened. And this was, years later that I was able to reveal what really happened.
I see. And how old is she now
She's 94.
94.
She's living in a nursing home in Tennessee.
Oh, in Tennessee. Okay. And so that's crazy story. I didn't know any of that. Yeah, wow.
Yeah, yeah.
That's a lot of people are saying they're going to go look for that book now. Yeah. So go ahead. You were in your story. So you wrote that book, and then what happened?
Right. I wrote a second book with my husband called San Francisco Values, Common Ground for Getting America Back on Track. And it's a leftist book. It's answering Bill O'Reilly, who told Al Qaeda they could bomb San Francisco and nobody would care because we have terrible values. And I said, no, we don't have terrible values. We have American values. So that book came out in maybe 2013 or something. And then I wrote Regina of Warsaw, and I've written a second book that's with the publisher now. And I wrote that book now because obviously I've known my grandmother's story my whole life.
Right.
Because of what's happening in our country and the rise of anti-Semitism and the whole, pushback about immigrants, and we had millions of people coming across our borders at the turn of the century.
Oh, yeah.
From Eastern Europe. Not just Jews, but
Oh,
all
of course,
kinds of people.
of course. I was
Because
just at
of the violence.
I know. I was just at Ellis Island this weekend with my family, and I said it was so emotional because my grandfather came there, 18 years old, in 1903, and we just were marveling that this is what he saw. He saw the Statue of Liberty, saw Ellis Island. It was very, very emotional, and I put up just a little clip on my Instagram or TikTok, and wouldn't you know it, right away someone just took that and turned it so ugly. And I just thought, like, what the heck? We're talking, I'm talking about this emotional day. My whole family was there, all my children, my daughter-in-law today, and they just said, oh, yeah, and now all the illegals are coming over. Yeah, they're coming in American droves to take over, I'm just like, this is like crazy, it just went to an extreme. And I'm talking about, walking through this and seeing what our ancestors saw that came over from Europe. And, I don't know. It's just, they just take anything and just try to make it ugly, It's sad.
People are coming here for a better life.
Mm-hmm.
They're coming here to work. They don't want to do illegal things because they don't want to get arrested because then they'll be sent back.
Mm-hmm.
So they're driving under the speed limit,
right,
and trying to get jobs. And of course, they're being taken advantage of because they're beholden to whoever hires them, and they can't complain.
right.
But you know what I like to say to people, Carolyn? Who picked your strawberries that you had for breakfast this morning?
Right.
Was it your neighbor boy?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Our farmers greatly depend on these people that are willing to work in the field at 90 degrees, picking our fruits and vegetables. My grandmother came here because she was fleeing violence in Warsaw, and she was afraid for her child, the son that she had in Warsaw. She said, I can't raise my kid in this environment.
Mm-hmm.
It's not safe. But
Right.
then she also found discrimination in the United States as well.
Right.
And she experienced that. But she said, I'm here, and I've got these kids, and I'm in Chicago alone. I need to get out of here. And so she found support by these agencies, and she got a job at a bakery, and the kids were at Vista Del Mar. But she went through a tremendous amount of heartache,
Right.
leaving her family, and her family suffered under the Holocaust. She was one of 6. 2 of her siblings died in Bergen-Belsen concentration camp. 2 others died in the Warsaw Ghetto. And then her sister survived because her sister, the one who witnessed the pogrom, married a rabbi, a young kid who graduated from rabbinical school, and she knew he was going to be stationed outside of Poland. And so she married him to get out of Poland.
Uh-huh.
Gina left with my uncle Louis to get out of Poland, but it was a heartbreak all the way around.
So where was her sister during the Holocaust?
In Paris, he was stationed at a synagogue, the big synagogue in Paris, and a farmer family and a priest hid Chacha Fega and her husband and their kids in a farm during the 4 years of the war. So Regina, nobody heard anything about Chachafega until after the war.
Oh, okay.
Her mother died of a disease that could have been taken care of, but because of the Holocaust, there was no medicine. And her father, that was Lena, was her mother. Joseph was her father, who died in a tractor accident on a farm. So it was, it was heartache. It was just heartache. Like she said, I didn't want to be proven right.
Right.
But I was, because I knew things were getting worse. And they kept saying, you're overreacting. It's not so bad. It'll be fine. They love us. Well, we know that they didn't love them.
Right. Yeah. I just, terrible time over there. And then, and then she's facing, there's a lot of stuff that's happening, like history repeats itself, right? A lot of things that are happening again, and we're seeing like crazy anti-Semitic things. We're seeing anti-Asian attacks in New York like crazy, and just like it's like why it's like people are just so angry, and it's they're killing their own family. I mean, we cover true crime here. There's so many that are killing their own parents, their own children. There was just a massacre in Long Island. I don't know, Bucky, if you heard it, over this 69-year-old brother. Okay, was he? I think he has some psychological problems, but he lived with his mother. The mother died, and all the other siblings came and said, "Well, we're selling the house." And, he had lived there his whole life. There's just and he just took out a shotgun and just shot them all in the backyard and then shot himself.
Wow.
Did you hear that, Bucky? That happened like 2 days ago. But this is like where it is. Like everybody is solving something with murder. And like we say, murder is not the answer. I want to get straight. Murder is not the answer. Fast food is a little bit cold, or if somebody's taking, a little longer in the fast food line, nobody has just get out. And how many people have gotten shot in fast food lines for nothing, just because somebody said they were taking too much time? It's a scary, scary time that we're living in. And it's just, I don't know what is going on, but I think everybody is really angry. There's so many people that are just so angry. I shouldn't say everybody, but there are so many people that are so angry, and they're not thinking clear at all, and not consequences, like all these even family annihilators. They're cheating on their wives, and then they kill their family. They're locked up the next day. It's like, you're not going to get away with murder in today's society. There's too many cameras, too much tracking. Even if you delete everything on your phone, it's still going to be found out, so just, it's not going to work. And I keep saying we should spend some money on PSAs that say this, that show this, like, no matter what, you're going to be found out. Is it worth it? Because you're going to be in prison, but I don't know. I don't know what is happening.
We're closing a bunch of things in Oakland. There's been a lot of violence at the fast food restaurants there. In Oakland Airport, so there's gas stations, so people who rent cars stop at the gas stations to fill their cars. And it's not safe. There's just a lot of violence going on in parts of, the Bay Area as well. And then these two museum directors in New York who had their homes, desecrated.
Right.
And that's a physical anti-Semitic attack.
Oh, yeah.
Which is frightening when it starts to become not just name calling, but becomes physical.
Yeah, absolutely. And I know, I grew up in Bergen County in Upper Saddle River, and we were like half Jewish, half Italian. We had some Irish kids, but it was what we knew. We had Yiddish words. We just thought they were everyday words. Everybody used them. And it wasn't, like I said, and I've said it here before, like friends went away to college in Arizona. They came back. They said, they told me, what are you talking about? Why do you speak that way? Nobody uses those words. There was a lot of prejudice even back then. So, and people told me, you're on the East Coast, so you don't see it. But there is, if you venture away, especially in the Midwest at that time, there was tremendous, they didn't feel anti-Semitic, stuff going on where they just didn't feel welcome. She was ostracized in college and came back and said, Carolyn, I'm going to stay over here, But I grew up with neighbors that were in the concentration camps that had the tattoos. One of my mother's really, really good friends, and she could only have green lights outside for the spotlights, She could have green because anything else reminded her of Auschwitz. And so, I mean, I don't know. I guess I'm blessed that, to this day, I'm still friends with the kids that I knew from preschool and kindergarten, and probably 3/4 of them are Jewish. And some married Italians, some are very more Orthodox than others and observe this Sabbath and all of that. But it's, I don't know, I feel blessed to have never experienced that. I remember the first time I heard a Holocaust denier, I went to my friend Deborah, I said, oh my gosh, this person is denying the Holocaust happened. And this is before any of this. Now they deny, all the mass shootings happen, so this is back. And she's like, Carolyn, don't even get into it with this. She's like, she's like, it's just something, it's horrible. But I never thought that people really did that. I remember when I heard that, I said, you've got to be kidding. I've seen them with the tattoos. Like, they really think this didn't happen? But that was just a predecessor of what happens now. Anything bad or anything that somebody wants to say didn't happen, it didn't happen. Look at Alex Jones, right? Yeah. What he was held accountable for. Thank God he was held accountable for it. Yeah. People lost their kids. He said it didn't happen. I mean, they're all actors. They're crisis actors. I mean, the country's gone crazy. It really has. And I don't discuss politics here, but it doesn't matter which politics is right or left or what. It's just people all over are just not treating people well. And it's like a free-for-all out there. And then you'll see random acts of human kindness that restore your soul, right? So then you'll see something and you'll say, wait a second, there are still good people, because it gets really jaded, like watching all this on the news and stuff. And then there are really, really good stories out there of people that have really gone above and beyond. And that's what I try to keep focusing on. And I don't want to sound like Anne Frank, but, I mean, we have to just be good to each other.
My grandmother said to my mother and to me, pay attention to politics. You need to pay attention. Bad things can happen. You must pay attention. You must be active. You must contribute, and you must work, for good candidates. I did a piece for the Huffington Post when Obama was running, and I said, if Obama doesn't win, it was my fault because I didn't do anything. And my mom was very active in Democratic politics in Los Angeles. And she instilled that in my brother and I because of Regina. You've got to pay attention. You've got to do something. It matters. And don't say other people are doing it. You need to do it. And I was channeling my mom when Obama was running. And I could hear her saying, Geri, what are you doing? It's important. You can't just sit back. Makes me crazy when I meet people who don't vote.
Oh yeah,
Women.
Yeah,
especially women.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Absolutely. Yeah, go out and vote. I don't vote by party. I vote for whatever candidate, and I always have. And so but yeah, definitely don't waste your vote. And vote for who you believe in and who's the best for the job, and that's it. But I don't lose, I don't lose friends over politics. That's why I don't lose friends over religion. I don't want to, because somebody may support someone I don't like. I have friends that support candidates that, I might not like, but their friendship is more to me than that. So I think that's important. We've got to learn how to get along. And some people can't do that. Some people, if they hear you support one candidate, they hate you. They hate you already, like maybe because you said something about Obama, somebody will say, oh, no, no, I'm not. But the thing is, that's wrong. That's so wrong, okay? Because to me, that's how I feel. That's so wrong. I would never do that, whether you said anything about any candidate. It's about the person. It's not about that. And whatever reason they were like that, I have some great friends that don't have any, we don't have any similarities with politics, but they're still, I know their hearts are good, and that's our friendship. So I won't let that get in the way. But yeah, there are people that judge you for that stuff. They judge you. I've had people scour my social media, my kids' social media, and if my daughter, who's very outspoken, says something, they have just turned on me so atrociously because of whatever my daughter believes. Now, how crazy is that? But that is exactly what has happened, and they've said it with their own mouth. So why they turned on me is because of something my daughter believes.
Mm-hmm. That's it. That's really an extended.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy because you should. I mean, I am who I am, and like I said, I don't discuss politics. I'm not a very political person. But I do care about people all across the board. I don't want anybody to feel ostracized or any of this stuff that goes on. I live in an area where we have a lot of different religions and ethnicities, and I teach my children that doesn't matter. It's the person that matters, So, and my kids do stand up for any kind of bullying or anything. I've said it 1,000 times, and that I feel is so important. But there's other people that just base it on, okay, I can't be friends with anybody if they believe this, if they believe that. So that's sad.
It's a very fragmented society.
Yeah.
That we're in right now. And it's unfortunate because it's difficult for different sides, to come together for solutions.
Yeah.
And that's what we want to see is our various, parties agreeing on something that's good for us.
Yeah.
As opposed to not. And
Right.
just being hard and fast that I'm not going to support what you believe in because it's against my party's politics or whatever.
Right.
And we used to be able to do that years ago before we became so isolated in terms of what we believe in or what we want to do.
Right.
And then the anti-Semitism piece, I have friends that are taking their mezuzahs off their doorposts.
Yeah, because they're getting, it's a target. They're made a target. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Absolutely. It's a scary time. It's just really scary. There's attacks, like I said, the Asian people, some of the stuff that's happened to them, just these little Asian women getting on a bus and they're beaten like crazy simply because they're Asian. That's it.
Wow.
And it's horrible. I mean, to be scared to go out like that, I don't know. It's so sad. And if we don't stand up for it and we just think, okay, well, it's okay. It's like that poem, right? First they came for this one, then they came for that one. I said nothing,
Yeah.
I said nothing, and then they came for me. So if you think, okay, well, I'm not Jewish, I'm not Asian, I'm not, I'm good. Someday it's going to be you if you don't stand up and do the right thing. And politics can be very divisive, which is why I, don't discuss them here, really. But I've seen it firsthand, just like I said, how it's not even me said something that, and it's like, well, then you never really cared about me or you never really liked me at all. Because if you just turned on me for that and you don't even know where I stand on anything because I don't put it out there, then, you never really liked me at all.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's Kevin thinks we need young blood in the political world. I don't know. It's a scary time. I think after COVID, when they shut things down, people got really scared that a lot of bad things happened then. A lot of parents were alone with special needs kids. We saw a lot of actual kids go missing and ended up that they were murdered because the parents couldn't take it. A lot of domestic violence with people forced together, and not able. People are scared now. Like they say something about some other disease. Oh my gosh, we're not going to go into a lockdown again. And there's fear around this stuff that we never thought would have been possible, right?
I think part of it was the isolation.
Yeah.
And not being able to be out with multiple people.
Right.
And just being sort of at home, what's coming through the airwaves.
Yeah.
And the inability to interact. And there's certainly a lot of medical research already that talks how important it is that we have connections and that we're with other people and doing other things. And we didn't have that during the pandemic.
Right, and they couldn't even be with loved ones who were dying. They have to drop their loved one off at the hospital. Like I know I've read this woman that's dropped her husband off. He was young, dropped him off, never saw him again. Was never, and she was left alone with her kids. And she said, I was never even able to go into the hospital when my husband was dying, hold his hand, nothing. I was not allowed. People weren't allowed to have funerals for their loved ones. They couldn't even give them a mass. People that had been, either Catholic, whatever religion, they weren't even able to have religious services when their loved ones died. Just horrible. And let's not even talk about like some of the people at the rates they were dying, that were treated not with respect after death. And it's just horrible, horrible situation. And nobody wants to go back to that. And, but it's, I don't know, I think it's changed us completely. And I think there's a lot of anger that stems from that, but there's just a lot of anger all around. And so your book, in
the book we talked about when Regina gets to Los Angeles with the kids and she gets ill and she's in the hospital and she thinks she'll just be gone for a day. And she ends up having surgery and, very foggy. And one of the nurses talks to one of the social workers who comes to see her and says, I think you have children. Yeah. Who's watching your children? My oldest son, Louis. He's 11. And she said, he's too young to watch your kids. Well, not in my country.
Right.
Well, he is in this country. And that's when they went and they took the girls and they first put them in foster care. And then they realized Regina didn't have any resources to take care of them. And so the two older girls were put in foster care. Louis stayed home. My two older girls were put in the orphanage. My mother had to stay in foster care because she wasn't old enough to change her own clothes. And that's one of the things that Regina faced in, coming to Los Angeles is her children being taken away from her. And that made her also very suspicious. Were they doing this because she was Jewish? And they said, they tried to tell her, no, this we would do this for anyone. We want your kids to be taken care of. But that was another point in her life that made her suspicious about our society because her children were removed from her.
Right.
And so there's all these little things that can happen that can raise our ire up about why is this happening to me?
Yeah, it's scary. Like, and I relate it to, we just went to the 9/11 memorial, and I just reminded me of something you just said about my father's surgeon that operated on my father, a very brilliant surgeon. Okay, he was Muslim. He went down to help out at 9/11, and he was treated terribly. We don't want you down. Get away. He was down there to help people. This is what I mean, the hate. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, people of all different nationalities, political beliefs, they do terrible things. There's bad people in every single facet of that, right? Doesn't mean that every person is bad. And that's what people need to see. It's really sad that you just base this. And here comes this doctor, and like I said, a brilliant surgeon. And he said, they sent me away. They don't want you here because you're go get out of here. They right after 9/11, so it's like,
it was a bad time for the Muslim community in this country.
Yeah. And it's like, we just have to understand, bad apples are everywhere. There are bad apples. But, you just, to be like that is just ridiculous. That's why you treat people, that's how I am, for how they are, with their actions. What do they do? Are they a good person or are they a bad person? Oh, and not because I'm supposed to hate you. Because, like they say, any religion that tells you you're supposed to hate someone, get out of it, okay? Because that's not the way it works. And it also brings me to one of my favorite songs as a kid was One Tin Soldier, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's been battling, and they're killing everybody. And then it was just said peace on earth was all it said. That the bloodshed all over the mountain, right? One side to the other. And those could be any sides that are fighting. But it's horrendous, and I think we just have to do something because it's getting worse and worse. And anybody that's telling you, oh, if they're this, they gotta hate them. This one's hate them. It's sad. And anybody raising their kids like that, I feel really sorry because that's what
they're learning at home. And that's what their truth is. Mm-hmm. And that's really, really unfortunate that people are raised with hate.
Terrible.
But it's happening.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's happening.
And it's not just, in other countries. It happens here as well, very much so. And that's,
definitely.
It's really sad. It's unfortunate because they're not raised, like you said, to deal with people on their terms.
Right, and it's
just bracing everybody is one thing.
And the funny thing is, like, if that same person said that they were either a different political belief or a different religion, then then everything's fine. So it's it's not. It's it's just so superficial, and a lot of us can't believe it's happening or that people do that, but they most certainly do. And all we can do is educate ourselves, try to keep our children, raise them right to not do that, and just realize we're all humans and we should treat each other with kindness. It's not that hard, to base something on who a person really is. I don't think it's that hard. I know good people in all religions, in all political beliefs, and I have friends in all those areas. Maybe some won't be friends with me after this. I don't know, and that's on them. But I've had that. I've had people turn away from me for something my daughter believes. So it's whatever,
Yeah.
Sad, but they were never my friend then.
No, but probably not.
No, that's the way it is, and
it happens within families.
Oh yeah, it does.
Really hard.
Yeah, it absolutely does, and that's the whole thing. We have to be able to have a conversation with people that think differently than us without having to hate them. And I've seen it. I've seen it take off, like even having friends in a room and somebody mentions something that they like a certain candidate and it's like, bam, there's an attack. It's like, why do you have to attack? So if she, idolizes this person, that's who she is. It doesn't change anything else you love about her, Mm-hmm. So, and you don't have to try to convince her not to like that person because that's who she wants. That's for her or him. So just let it be. And that's why I just say don't discuss it. That's I've always been raised with, don't discuss politics and religion among friends, among family, because you'll divide yourselves over what? Nothing mm-hmm. of substance, nothing, that's going to mean anything on your deathbed. I say you'll regret that. And any religion that's telling you to do that, that's not really a religion I would want to be with, but I think we just have to learn to get along better and just accept people, and we would be a much happier society. And I don't know what's gone on, so it's just, but everybody wants to be at war or something. They want to fight for something, it seems like, and what are you fighting for after all? A lot of these political candidates are the worst people you will run across, okay? Because my daughter used to work in that sector, and I am so glad she is out of it. And one day she called me up and she said, I don't care which side it is. They lie. They are, narcissists for the most part. They are all like, it's bad. And it's horrible. And so you what are you doing? You're throwing, away all these relationships for these people that don't even know your name. And I don't know. I think that's how I feel.
Working in party politics, as you're saying, can be very disappointing when you do see these power struggles and the narcissism that exists and the almost frenetic commitment to a cause. And because I've done that level, and it's tough.
Yeah.
It's you have to protect yourself from getting overwrought about something. But like I said, there's things that I feel passionate about.
Yeah, and passion is not, is good. Having passion is good, and fighting for what you believe in is good. But here's what the thing is, okay? We teach children not to bully. We want to teach our children to be kind to each other. If you have to express yourself, there's ways to debate. People can debate without being personal attacks into it. And when we see our politicians get up there now, why can't they just say, whatever, let's just say you voted this tax bill down, you voted stick to facts. Why do they have to go with the personal attacks? And when we see these men or women standing up there, and it's personal attacks, they're bullying. That's bullying, okay? And that's the example for our kids. So, and there were petty attacks on people's age and the way they are, and that's not good. I don't want my kids doing that. I would never want my kids doing that in any kind of debate. When you learn debate in high school and middle school, you don't do personal attacks. You base it on the facts of what you're arguing, right? And I don't understand why we think it's okay and why we endorse these personal, these ads and that are just horrible. They're attacking somebody for things that have nothing to do with, that often they're just like, I don't know. It's just pettiness.
Stick to policy.
Stick to the policy, stick to the procedures. Did you vote something down or you're for this, whatever. But when you go low like that, it's it's horrible. I don't want my kids seeing that and thinking like that's okay. But as a society, we think it's okay, calling names and all of that stuff. And I don't know.
Well, bullying has become a big problem in our schools, especially with little kids. Feeling picked on, and bullied, and that's really awful for them, because then they withdraw and they can't learn because they're spending all their energy on protecting themselves.
Right. How long did it take? Okay, Kevin wants to ask you, how long did it take you to write your book, Regina of Warsaw?
I started it 2 years ago in November with a program called National Novel Writing Month, NaNoWriMo. It's 30 days of doing 2,000 words a day, and it's your own competition. It's all over the world, and it's a way to just get the words out. I got 60,000 words out. That's not doing any research and not doing any editing, just boom.
Right, yeah.
And I worked on it for a while, and then I put it aside. I wasn't sure I was going to, do anything with it. But then I started writing it more, and I got a new agent. I have 2 agents, one for nonfiction and one for fiction. And she pushed me to write a full proposal and chapter headings and to go further with the book. And that was probably last January. I turned the book in February through editors, and then was launched in June June 17th, 2024. So you could say it took me 2 years to write the book.
Okay.
Off and on.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's the best. Then get everything out that you can, and then you can go back in. You'll always edit. But that's the easiest way, because it can be very overwhelming, right? And then just start writing. That's my advice to people. Just start writing, and then you'll have
then
something.
do the research.
Yeah, then
But
do the
you
research, or
can't
go back and do
edit
your
a blank
edits,
page.
add stuff. Yeah, and it gives you a base on which to work. Oh, I want to, bring this section out more. I want to talk more about this. Yeah, but you have a great base, and you'll always surprise yourself by when you just do that, and then you read it back, and you go, wow, okay, like it gets overwhelming, and it's like eating an elephant one bite at a time, right? So you got to start. Just little bites and just go, but just do it and do something. Things get overwhelming, and I know, because I have anxiety about things that I get if I get overwhelmed with something, and it seems like too much. Then you've got to focus and just say, just what do you have to do first? Do it, and try to get it done, and that's what you can do.
There's a lot of research. I always say there's a lot of fact in fiction.
Yeah.
When you're talking about something medical or legal or whatever, you want to get it right. Part of my research is contacting university professors because they'll have a narrow focus on something. And I found 3 that wrote about women in Poland at the turn of the century. And one of them was Robert Blaubaum at West Virginia University, and he did papers on women in Poland at the turn of the century, and there was a small feminist movement.
Right.
That's when women started working outside of the home. He was wonderful. He was so generous. He answered all my questions. He pointed me to different things because I had to get it right.
Right.
What were women like? How were they living in Warsaw at the turn of the century, 21st century, 20th century?
Right.
And that was so important because it's historical fiction. I'm not a historian.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I am a master researcher, and I know how to find information to get it right. Correct. I don't want anybody reading the book and going, "What? That never could have happened."
Yeah. And sometimes there's another thing I say is write about something you like and write about something because that's always easier. Like when people have asked me about blogging and stuff, well, what kind of, they would say stuff to me like, what kind of blog makes money? And I said, wait, so if you're going to just base your blog on, a niche that makes money, and you're not at all interested, let's say it's, stocks and bonds, you're not at all interested in stocks and bonds. I said, you're going to have no passion in that, and you're not going to be consistent with that. And you're going to be much better off if you have an area that you love. You will find it much easier to be consistent, and you'll have that passion behind you, know what you're writing about, rather than you're just trying to look for something to make money. I didn't start my blog for those reasons, but then when my blog took off, and then I would have people ask me that, and I'd be like, you're not in it for the right reasons. You have to really have a passion. Do you like to write? No, I don't like to write. They would tell me, no, I don't like to write. But why do you want to blog? Oh, because I think people are making money with them, and you get sponsors and you get great things. I said, okay, but do you understand why? I'm writing about them. I'm doing this whole promotion about whatever I'm writing about for them, for a company, for a resort or something. Are you willing to do that? A lot of times they're not. It's like, I can't understand that, so it's like they're just looking, oh, I want to write about food truck industry because I'm like, okay, do you have any interest in that? No, not at all. So yeah, there are people like that. I just think you have to have, like you said, passion for whatever you do. If you want to do it well, you have to have some passion and interest in it. Not it just
fire
can't be
in the belly.
Yeah. Yeah.
To stay with it, because especially writing books, it's hard.
Oh yeah, that's what.
Just stay with it and to fit. And do you really have a book, or do you have an article?
Right, or short story. Yeah. But it
may not last for a book.
Right. Absolutely. It's just there's people there's people that just don't want to put the effort in, and I talk about this a lot, and it's like a lot of them are scared to fail too. There's all these people that don't embark on things because they're so scared of failing, they'd rather not try at all. The idea that they might fail at something, And you're not really going to fail at something. I always quote Barry Manilow, I've learned more from failure than I've ever learned from success, because failure just tells you, I've got to adjust my sails. If you don't quit, you're not going to fail. The only way you're going to fail is when you quit. Then you're a quitter. And, we don't like quitters.
There's a lot of unfinished books out there. And it's just, you have to have a commitment and you have to do the work.
Mm-hmm.
But like I said, if you want this, if you feel this is an important story to tell, then tell it. Book 2 from Regina is about her daughters, and it's about revenge. Mm-hmm. No violence, nobody gets beat up, nobody gets shot, but something happens to each of these girls because they go to public high school and they live in a Jewish orphanage, and there are a lot of people who didn't like them.
So one of those girls is your mother.
My mother and her 2 sisters. So something happens to each daughter in high school that affects their future. And 10 years later, they're at Regina's home having dinner, and they start talking about what happened to them in high school. And each of them creates an event that gets even on the same score of what happened to them. So it's called Revenge of the Sisters, A Tale of Retribution.
And that is also true?
Most of it's true.
It's
true. Not historical fiction.
Okay.
But the story about them in high school and stuff that happened to them in high school is true. Because people didn't like these kids. What are you doing in our school? You're bringing down the level of the program. You're not smart enough because you live in an orphanage. Well, my mom and her sisters were very bright. Yeah. So there's a scenario with each Rose, Josie, and Dorothy. And then a plot of revenge where they get even. Like I said, nobody gets hurt.
Right, yeah.
And it's like to like.
And she is working on, that's the second book, Kevin. And when is that due out? Do you have a date when you think that'll be?
That's going to come out the first of the year. I just turned it in to the editor. And they don't want it to come out during the holidays. Okay. So it'll probably come out when we're in the first of the year.
Oh, good. You'll have to come back then and talk with us more. So tell us some of the other things besides writing that you enjoy doing in your life.
I have fruit trees and I have chickens.
Chickens.
And the chickens are my pets for their eggs.
Uh-huh.
And I can the fruit from my fruit trees.
Oh, wonderful.
Give it away.
That's great.
And I have a wonderful husband who also keeps me entertained.
Oh, that's nice. So the chickens and fruit trees.
Yeah. I belong to 3 different writers groups because I love being around other writers and I love giving back.
Right.
I'm very happy to share what I've learned and what I know.
Mm-hmm.
So, and then I volunteer at our local food bank and I give out food 1 day a week because I feel it's important to give back.
Yes.
And to do some kind of volunteering. Doesn't matter what it is.
Right.
But just, like my mom said, and she always did this, she said, I was given so much, I need to give back. And she modeled that for my brother and I, and we've carried that on. So I think all of that keeps me pretty busy, besides writing, besides my chickens and my fruit trees and my family. I'm very busy with stuff, and I love it. And
that's a good, passion. Living a good life, living a life you love, absolutely, and canning, and that's nice. My son's girlfriend's mother just sent over peach jam she made, and it was delicious. Yeah, I love baking and cooking, and food gifts are great gifts to share with your friends and family.
Yeah.
And you just finished canning your cucumbers, little lady? Is that what you said? Yeah, definitely. My son and I tried making pickles once. He grew so many cucumbers, Ray. And something happened. I mean, I tried it for the first time. I don't know what it was. Maybe it didn't work. I should try something like that again. But
give it a shot.
Try it again. Yeah, I don't know what it was that I tried everything. I thought, but that was prior to YouTube. And now YouTube, you could watch step by step every single. Oh, that's what I missed or something. Yeah, right.
Yeah, YouTube is fabulous for learning something new. It's amazing.
It is.
It's all out there. It's fabulous. I watched every YouTube video so I could learn to make my own pie crust.
Oh
The
yeah, pie
store-bought pie
crust.
crust to
Yep.
me wasn't good. And it took me about a year to get it right.
Now, do you have to use, see, the pie crust thing, you put a shortening in it, or can you make them with butter? Well,
Butter. Mine is totally frozen butter.
okay,
Straight
I'll
into
have
the
to,
butter.
you'll have to share that with me, because here's the thing. Every time, like, everyone's like, oh no, you've got to put this Crisco in it. I don't want that. Butter. And so then I will end up like using the rollout one from Pillsbury, because I just don't want to be bothered, but I make my own pumpkin pie. So you'll have to share that with me if you find one that works with all butter, because a lot of times it doesn't. They always tell me that's my problem because I didn't use shortening, and I used all butter. So if you find one that works, let me know what it is.
Yeah, my pie crust comes out great every time now.
Oh, good.
And it's only with butter.
Yeah, and that's all I ever want to bake
Yeah.
with is butter. Butter, or sometimes you can use applesauce, whatever. But I mean, I don't want to use like lard or Crisco. I'm not one of these people that want to use that. So let's see. Do you have anything else you want to add or tell us that we should know about your book?
I
about
think
anything?
I've talked about my books, and I love to share with people. My email is gspieler@gmail.com. I'll answer any questions that I can. If I can't, I'll try to find the answer for you. That's what, I write on Medium as well and on Substack. Haven't been as active lately because I've been very busy with the books. But I love writing. I love helping people write. I'm a master researcher. I teach internet research skills. I've been doing that for, 12 years now, because I'm a very good researcher, and I'm happy to share what I know about researching. So that's me.
That's great. And I have the links to your website in the video description. I have the link to your book pinned at the top, and it is in the video description. And if you just check back on the video too, if anybody has any questions, a lot of people watch on replay on our channel because they're in different countries and different time zones. So I always tell them, if you have questions, just put it in the comments, and Geri, maybe you can check back. I sent the link over. I can send it over again if you didn't get it, to this video that's playing now, and then you could go back and check and see if anyone has any questions. I usually try to make a thread, and I apologize that I feel like I'm off my mark today with my eye. It's finally feeling a little better, but oh my gosh, that pain is like outrageous, and I just feel silly sitting in the dark with sunglasses for this, but I apologize. But her book is great. Check it out, and we'll look for the sequel, and we'll hope you come back, after the first of the year and talk with us again.
This has been delightful. Thank you.
It's been a pleasure having you here too, and I thank you for your time. And I'm going to end this now for all of us, but I will see you guys later. I'm going to go lay down in a dark room for a little bit, and hopefully I'll be okay for tonight. Okay, I love you guys. God bless. Prayers. I'll see you later. Bye now. Bye, Geri. Thank you so much.
Bye.
Bye.